write that in PEN Canada. And PEN Canada is supposed to be the most respected organization for freedom of expression, not just in Canada, but in Pakistan and internationally. I can say I'm one of those few, with Farzana Hassan here, who have been to the lion's den, and we put our hand in the snake pit of truth every day. Because we work with about 20 people from 50 countries, 30 or about 60 people who came to Canada from around the world on the pain of conscience, for writing for their conscience. And they were persecuted in their countries from Albania to Zambia, including Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and all those countries. And we did whatever we could to make sure that they survived. And the smallest thing that we could do sometime for them was to provide them an aspirin in a jail in China. Because the punishment that they give you is you're in pain, they will not give you a painkiller. Another thing they will do, they will take your glasses away so that you cannot write. This is the environment in which freedom of speech kind of takes place. This is the environment where we come from to fight for the freedom of speech. And we do that. And how it goes on, I was thinking, and there's no comment of Dr. Khalid Sohaib of Family of the Heart, that this event today will start, begin with the remembering of a very brave soul in Pakistan, Sabeen Mahmood, a 40-year-old girl who ran a group called Peace Niche, like Family of the Heart. A Peace Niche means Gahwarai And all she was doing there in Pakistan is to bring people together so that they can read books, so that they can paint, so that they can write, so that they can do some nice things. And the last sin that she committed was that she invited some poor Balochis to talk about the disappearance of their people. And as she was going home, she was killed. This is what freedom of speech is what we stand for. Now banners are going on in Pakistan, unsilencing Pakistan. I have made a new banner called Unsilencing Balochistan is the first and essential step for unsilencing Pakistan. So that's my background, okay? But we have heard so many things. I'm not going to theoretical things. I'll just tell you what freedom of speech is all about, what writers think about freedom of speech. I've got a paragraph here from somebody else, that I'll just read. I'll just go to anecdotal. So the way it works, we talk about ideology, insulting ideology, religion, Islam, blah, 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 whatever. So now somebody has wrote this. It is not merely that an assault on ideology is different from a threat made to a person. It is that it is the opposite of that threat made to a person. The whole end of liberal civilization is to substitute the criticism of ideas for assaults on people. Just focus on that. The whole end of liberal civilization is to substitute the criticism of ideas for assaults on people. The idea that we should be free to do our work, that's the writers, to do our work and offer our views without extending a frightened veto to those who threaten to harm us is in just part of what we mean by the free expression. It is what free expression is. The Charlie Hebdo staff kept working in the face of death threats and is scorning an effort to honor that courage gives too much authority to those who want to veto. The killers were not speaking for an offended community, and I say blatantly, the killers were not speaking for an offended community and explaining why. After all, someone might easily miss the point of the cartoons. They were responding to an insult with murder. They were responding to an insult with murder. The honored cartoonists, in turn, are not markers in an abstract game of sensitivities. They were elderly artists whose last view of life was of a masked man with a machine gun. If that is not horror, then nothing is horror. If that is not wrong, then nothing is wrong. If writers won't honor their courage, then what courage can we offer? And so, with all that can be said about the absurdity of trying to honor the aggressively impious with the rituals of liberal piety and language of heroism that it still belong to, and with the martyred cartoonist of Charlie Hebdo. Liberal civilizations, open societies, try to stretch as broadly as they can to be as tolerant as life allows, but they have limits. The real social contract, and all of us should remember that we are together under a social contract. The real social contract at the heart of liberal civilization is simple. In exchange for the freedom to be as insulting as you want about other people's ideas, you have to give her the possibility of assaulting other people's persons. By all means, mock and belittle, sneer and be sour. We all expect no less. But you cannot knife or shoot someone or even threaten to do these things. If you do, you stand outside the social contract. If you do, you stand outside the contract and you're no longer a citizen of our city. And those who you do knife or shoot are our martyrs to be open in the open society, and they are to be honored as such. They are carrying the flag of freedom, like Sabine Mahmoud. They're carrying the flag of freedom, whose device isn't noble, nor ever needs to be. Whose devices are not noble, nor even need to be. But it is more often a ridiculous caricature of an overrated ideologue, a mocking picture of a prophet. How can we tell insults to ideology from threats to people? How can we tell insults to ideology from threats to people? Well, as some people have written before, that's why we have critics. That's why we have critics. That's why we have courts and laws. Hell, it is why we have writers. It is the work they do. And it is the reason why they gather at galas where they can argue with each other and look ridiculous just as they thought to be. Now, some people talk about this freedom to insult and freedom to do whatever they want to, and there's no limit on the freedom in the society. Now, let me tell you, in Canada, our problem is we don't read what goes on around us. We don't even observe. In Canada, there's a guy named Ezra Levin. Ezra Levin is supposed to be the most mocking person to Islam and most mocking person who is accused of creating hate about people, right? We talk about the laws are the one that put limit on the freedom of expression. Ezra Levin was recently fined $93,000. $93,000 for creating hate against a Muslim couple in this country. So there are laws. Now, how many of you, I'll ask a question, how many of you know or still remember an actress named Brigitte Bardot? Raise hands, how many of you know? Very few, just one or two. Brigitte Bardot was the national icon of French culture and society. And we talk about France and we say the limits on clothes and limits on this, and Charlie Hebdo was given so much freedom. Brigitte Bardot, would you believe, has been charged and punished 6 times in France for insulting Muslims and for creating hate. If that is not just, what is just? That's how you control aggressiveness of free speech. 6 times she was punished and 6 times she was fined. She was made to pay a fine of hundreds of thousands of francs. That's what the society does when you take liberties of the rights of free speech given to you. Now let me show you what freedom of speech is all about. Have you heard of a guy named Reza Aslan? How many of you have heard his name? 5 or 6 in this crowd, right? And Farzana, of course. Now Reza Aslan is the hero currently of Muslim, because he wrote a book called There's No God But God, and he's another hero because he went on a video program and started arguing with one of the presenters, and a lot of mockery was made because the presenter was making fun of Islam. We talk about insulting the prophets, right? And how the insults are done? By using words, correct? Use some wrong word to insult a prophet. This is a book by Reza Aslan called The Zealot. Zealot is not a good English word for a common person. He wrote this book defining the life of Jesus Christ. How many in this crowd have the courage to raise a hand and say, I want to go and sue Reza Aslan in Canada under Canadian hate laws? Or under very dormant Canadian blasphemy laws? This is Reza Aslan, okay? Now let me talk about others. So I just brought examples that's easier to show you pictures than to talk, okay? We talk religion, right? Inserting religion. Some of you will know, unfortunately, the problem is we don't know. There's a guy named Tom Harper, H-A-R-P-U-R. He's a major religion writer in Canada. He writes huge books on Christian. He's a Christian, and he writes for Christianity. And he wrote this book, and you'll be shocked, term heard, but the pagan Christ. The word he used for Christ is pagan. Do I have the courage to write a book called Pagan Muhammad? What will happen to me? And all religions come from paganism. I mean, I was just reading this great author, Mr. Reza Islam, his God but no God, and he talks about the Hajj itself is a pre-Abrahamic pagan religion, a pagan ritual. The name of Allah itself is a pre-Islamic. People can say, no, that's wrong, when it's up, history is wrong, because that's how it goes about. But the name of Allah itself is a pagan name. Okay? So if I write pagan Christ, I can write pagan Christ and nobody in Canada sues me or kills me. If I write zealot and nobody in Canada sues me or kills me, what is wrong with somebody drawing a cartoon of Prophet Muhammad and we say we should kill him? Now we heard about this very strange story of rich Saudi influenced 12 Muslim countries coming around and going to UNO saying, let's change the Charter of Human Rights and just put some blasphemy nonsense there, right? I have this badge of honor, I just picked it from here, so I'll show it to all of you, okay? From this Center of Inquiry. I am currently, among other things, President of Muslim Canadian Congress. Farzana is my fellow director. We are proud that we are the only Muslim organization in the world who are the first to put our name on the Center of Inquiry's petition for declaring blasphemy laws should be removed from the books everywhere, not just in Canada. When we talk about, not just in Canada, so we can put veils and we can do whatever, we can claim we are Muslim and equality, you have to have the courage to come forward. And the courage kills you. The courage kills you. I have an article, I'm not boasting about my article, right now I wrote on Sabine Mahmood on Huffington Post. If you go and read underneath the comment, the person may be here, his name is Nadir Ansari. He's a fake Facebook person, but he's a real person somewhere. And he's gone there, and he's written there, it's right in there, saying, Munir Saab, by doing this, you've declared yourself as an agent of Raw. You've declared yourself as an agent of new colonial empire, because you are talking about free speech. Now that's what free speech was all about, okay? You have to die for it. You have to read. You know, I may be in serious trouble because now they're putting pictures of Tariq and Farzana and myself and anybody who raises a voice like this to put a picture saying these are the traitors of Islam and these are the traitors of Pakistan. So when we talk about all of this stuff, and then another friend of mine will say, oh, freedom of expression is kind of limited. PEN is honoring Charlie Hebdo. 6th or 5th of May. Some people, 6 or 30 writers are not in favor of honoring Charlie Hebdo. So be it.
145.
I know my history, okay, so I can count it, okay. 6 were the original one, 35 are the one side, it could be 145, it could be 200, but PEN America consists of thousands and thousands of members. And with due respect, Asma Marsi Saiba for interjecting, PEN America is still going on 5th of May to honor Charlie Hebdo. And those who oppose, they have the right to oppose. But if those 135 come to start shooting Charlie Hebdo's organizers, then we will talk. Okay, so if we want to talk about free speech, we have to take the totality in picture. I just submit this and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Munir Saami. I'm sure that many of you have very pointed questions for Munir Saami for his sort of bold and provocative expression, but I think that's part of sharing and expressing how we feel very deeply. And I think he's one of those who stands out and sticks his neck out, as I said. Now we have this time invited a young gentleman that we have never had the sort of the privilege of listening to him. Zia Saab introduced us to this young man. So I asked Zia Saab to tell me, because I didn't know him that well myself. So we find out from Zia Saab that Kamran Ahmed is a doctoral candidate at the Center